What's up, guys? I'm Chris. Welcome to PHP Engines. Okay, so I've been saying since the last live stream I did around 1800 that I was going to do a feature for an associate of mine go by the name of Kyle Darmody, who had about a year ago, just about a year, almost to the exact date, opened up a little kind of like Honda junkyard type deal. He called himself the Honda Parts Depot. And he, like I told you, like I said in that live stream, he had a fucking warehouse that he completely filled up with Honda parts. And I've said a bunch of times that, maybe not on the channel, but to people in general, that everything on a Honda is valuable. There's not a part on a fucking Honda that you can't strip and resell. But with that being said, you also have to realize too that there are some parts of the car that are going to sell faster than other parts of the car. All right, so going off of the topic of what I want to talk about today is two things, because it kind of coincides with some other questions I'm getting, and also that I have gotten before, but just it doesn't come up very often, as about YouTube in general, like how to get started and all that bullshit. I'm nowhere near a big channel, but I think it's safe to say that I am established. I'm firmly established. I definitely go up in subs way more than I go down. So we'll talk about that a little bit and talk about the parts thing. Talk about automotive work in general. Like, for those of you out there who dream of doing your own business, whether it just be automotive or general auto mechanics, some kind of specialty or a brand specialty. I guess so. I'll start off with the automotive dream first, because that's still a dream of mine that I one day want to do, and I definitely believe that when I do get to it again, because technically I did start it. When I get to it again, I think that I will be successful, because the thing is picking your time and place and specialty, which I'm going to go into now. Okay, so first off, I've had a lot of friends over the years that I know that have run their own business, run their own automotive business, and I've only, out of all those guys I've known, I will only count one of them as truly successful, because he's done it for decades. And the other guy I know is I expect to stay successful because he's continuing to grow. But here's the thing: when you want to become successful in automotive on auto mechanics, right? First off, you gotta realize that when you're starting, there's almost no job you can turn down, because you don't know when the next one's gonna be offered or whatnot. So you got to realize that everything that comes your way, you're going to need to be able to do. So if you're going to try and start your own mechanic shit, you really have to know what you're doing. You have to be confident that you can do it. Because the last thing you want to do is kill yourself in the water before you get started by biting off more than you can chew, overwhelming yourself, doing a bad job, and then having people say bad things, and nobody gets brought to you. You're going to start off. The main way you're going to be successful is by word of mouth. That's the big thing. You do a good job for somebody, they're going to point other people to you. And so you can't fuck up. And so the easiest way to fuck up for people is to get too excited. They don't want to turn down jobs because they need the jobs, and then you bite off more than you can chew by taking something that you can't really do. And then you find yourself stuck, either frustrated, not wanting to finish it, or trying to find other people outside to help you, and it just becomes a mess. All right, and then for another thing is, for me, like, a lot of people ask me why I don't do this, why I don't do that, because I build engines. Everybody was trying to bring a car to me, like, oh, I want to bring you a car, rebuild my engine. I'm like, wait, you want to bring me the whole car, pull the swap, rebuild, boost it, put it back together? That is a whole lot of work. That's a whole lot of work. All right, and then the thing is, you'll start doing that, and then you'll need to wait for parts, and then most likely you're not getting paid yet, and it takes up a lot of time. So another thing is too, when you're trying to start this kind of automotive side business thing, you're going to need to do real work in the meantime. So then you got to be able to balance your time with your real job with what your side jobs are. All right, and so to be fair on prices, when you're trying to be competitive, and I think the general consensus for a swap for most of these little mom and pop places, or for people who are just doing things on their own, I'd say generally between $550 to $600 for labor, just for swap labor. All right, and I think that's fair. That's what I've paid before with people who know their shit back in the day, and that's what I've charged when I was willing to do that kind of thing. But you got to realize, especially in these older Hondas, that especially if they haven't been modified at all, that you're going to run into problems like ball joints are going to fuck up on you, tie rod ends, shit like that. You know, there always usually be little hiccups to get in your way. Generally speaking, I'd like to free up about 16 hours for a swap. And that may seem like a long time. I know a lot of people are going to jump in and be like, oh, I could do a swap in an hour or whatnot. And that's true. I mean, I can pull an engine out if there's no problems within an hour, you know, but then you run into those problems and hiccups with this is broken, that's broken, and then trying to put it back together generally takes a little longer. And I like to be really methodical about it. I work like a snail. I just slow and steady. I don't like to rush things. So while I can have an engine out in an hour, I usually like to take an hour, you know, 2 to 3 hours, just, you know, slowly taking things apart, you know, getting it up. And, you know, most of the time, you count towards these hours of work is prep. You know, you're prepping to getting everything ready, getting the car in the air, taking the wheels off, shit like that. So, and then I like to have the engine out on one day, and the next day, put everything back together, you know, put the harness and everything on, the engine, the new swap going in or whatnot, and all that stuff. But then because I realized the amount of time it takes, you know, and the fact that you're working in with a real job, and then I got to start thinking about the money being made there. And while $550 is pretty good for a couple days worth of work, you know, you got to really think, like, if it guarantees that you're going to do it in that certain amount of time, then you're great. But if it goes past that certain amount of time and you're spending extra time on it, which is very possible that it can happen, then how much is that $500 really worth the effort? Like, what happens if something goes bad and you got to wait like a week? Then it becomes like a little shaky on whether you want to do that shit or not. And then you got to compare it to the jobs that are faster that make the same kind of money. Like when I was flipping engines, I was selling single cams for about $500, and it wouldn't take me that much. I mean, generally speaking, it would take about the same time. I would take the same approach with building an engine, tear down, cleaning and shit on one day, reassembly on the next, so about 2 days. But all of that work is stand-up. Like, besides from the cleaning part, everything else is stand-up. I can stand up, or when I'm ringing pistons, I can sit down in a chair and stuff like that. You know, it's a lot easier, straightforward work. Not so much bending over, getting up and down, crawling into tight spaces when doing a swap, having dirt fall on your fucking eyes on your car. And, you know, having creepy crawlers crawling around. So, engine building is much more peaceful and much more relaxing and easier to do. It's an easier approach to do that. You're just standing in one spot, moving around that engine block, you know, back and forth around that, instead of doing all the other shit. So quickly I fell in love with engine building, and I was like, and I decided really early on that engine building is all I want to do, because I don't want to be a slave to maintenance on the head gaskets and timing belts and shit like that. And like, to do, you know, the fair pricing for like a timing belt and or timing belt and water pump is like, I know generally speaking, if you don't have to deal with AC, a lot of people charge about $150. And when I think about how many hours goes into timing belt and water pump, I'm like, nah, $150. I can never give a fair price to justify the hours I'm going to spend, so I just don't do it. I just usually redirect, you know. So I decided back when I was in Florida that engine building was all I was going to do. And of course, I have said this on the channel right when I started to pick up and get, you know, attention from people coming to me on a regular basis for engines. I decided to move. So right in the time where I was gaining steam, where I could have been doing this on a regular, you know, I left town. My goal was to get to mainly labor-based work, like people bringing me engines instead of me buying and rebuilding and selling. Buying and rebuilding and selling, I wasn't making as much money. I mean, I was still making double my money back, but it wasn't enough to really go off of. It was just supplemental, you know, a couple extra $100 every once in a while. Every 2 weeks or so, I would make a couple extra $100 off engines, and it was just mainly to feed my own hobby, you know, that extra money, not so much as profit, like I'm paying my bills with this shit. But I do, you know, believe I could get to that point again if I just get back down to the city. I could definitely get back on that level, especially now with YouTube to help supplement what I'm doing. It'd be a lot easier. So continuing on with that, I didn't talk about. I kind of got distracted in the whole thing, but going back to Kyle Darmody's shit, he hasn't spoke up on clearly exactly what's happening. I have a couple theories, and I'll go over that. Yeah, it was kind of a surprise to me. I saw a little notice saying, or a notification, or a post saying that now's your last time to get these get some parts before we close the shop. And I thought he meant like as in we close the shop today. But then I saw the comments. I was like, oh, okay. And I asked some friends, and yeah, for sure he's shutting down. So how his shop started was he went in with a business partner, as in like somebody, from what I understand, wasn't actually involved in the dealings of what was going on, but someone who fronted the money to get the spot and all that shit. And I guess he got cut from that. Um, so one of my theories is that that relationship dried up, or it didn't work out well, or whatnot. There was some kind of problems. Because eventually, what happens in situations like that is that the benefactor that stands on the outside, that doesn't really put the work in, even though they put the money up front, eventually, once the money starts to flow, people start to get a little bit more salty. Like, damn, why am I breaking off this motherfucker who isn't really putting in work? Now, the way I see it is a situation like that, it is kind of like that. I would feel the same way. Like, if I was a year into doing it and I was making all kinds of money and this person who helped me start it up isn't doing anything anymore, I wouldn't want to break that guy off anymore. So you got to be, if you're going to do something like that, which I don't recommend, you need to make a deal like you get paid this certain amount back, unless you decide to take part. Like if you're not gonna take part, then I'll pay you this much money, like double back your whatever you invested initially or whatnot. And then once we get to that point where I'm stable, it's done. It's always my work. So I'm not going to carry somebody else getting a free paycheck. I'm not going to do that. So the one theory is that relationship dried up and it became a moment of contention. So he's decided to shut down. I guess that'll be confirmed when we see if this guy's going to open up another spot, a different place or whatnot. And another idea of mine is the fact that I think that he, it's a solid idea with doing Honda parts, solely Honda parts. And there might be a little bit of a problem with how much he was charging for things, because I know if he's buying a shell for like $150, a crash shell, or $100, and then trying to sell parts off this for like $200, people are going to get salty about that. They know how much you're paying. They're not going to want to pay you top dollar. They're coming to you because they think you're the cheap guy, and if you're not the cheap guy, then they're not gonna fuck with you no more. They'll do like a boycott of buying your parts, and that doesn't get you anywhere. So that's the same thing with me. I don't like to sell parts that often, like shit that I collect. I like to sell complete engines. I don't like to sell parts too often because you don't make enough money back to justify the sell. So if you want to be fair, now if you're charging a fuck ton of money and you can get that part back quick, then by all means. And I think that might be an idea of mine, because I've noticed a bunch of times his prices are a little bit on the outrageous side, at least for me. I mean, like, dude, you're selling on Facebook, you're trying to sell like a premium fucking prices here. That's not going to work out. But some of his shit was a decent price, and you have to admit that sometimes it's good to go to a guy, even though you're going to pay a little bit extra, but get what you need right away. So that is nice. So that's my second idea. First theory is being that the partner thing didn't go right. The second thing being his prices were a little bit too high. And the third thing being is, and I think this is probably a big part of it, is that I think he tried to bite off more than he can chew by trying to do it all. He didn't specialize in any specific parts. He was just buying shells, and he had spent more money up front than he was making back. Like, buy this shell, buy that shell, buy that shell, and then expect to be making the money back selling it. I think you should get a couple. To have a variety, sell all of that shit first, and before you buy more. If you buy more than you're selling, then you're not really making any money. That's the same thing I did with engines. I would buy a whole bunch of engines, but I was buying engines faster than I was selling them. But on the flip side, for me it was mainly a hobby thing for me. I'd like to have the shit there, so I was always buying shit dirt ass cheap too. So I wasn't really concerned too much about making the money back right away. It was more of just the fun of having the parts and being able to build at will. Like, I would finish an engine, I would have the next one ready without having to go out and find one. So that was cool for me. So you gotta limit yourself how much you're taking in as opposed to how much you're selling. And then I guess maybe we can count this as a fourth part, and this is kind of me, like I was saying earlier, you need to pick especially something that you specify in. Because like if you go out there and you try to be every man's shop, you're going to notice that certain parts that you have sell more than others. So when that happens, when you run into a situation like that, then the parts that aren't selling on a regular basis, you need to get rid of that shit or let it go naturally, and then not restock that. And then the shit that is selling, you keep restocking that, and that becomes your thing. This goes back to what I want to do eventually. I want to do an engine shop. Like, I want to sell parts, engine parts, pistons, rods, blocks. I want to do everything engine related. I want to be able to sell it, gaskets, all that shit. And I have a plan set up for this. I just need to be in the right place. Right now is not the right place for me to try and do this. I would take fuck tons of money, and it would be very hard for me to sell unless I sold online, and that's not something I'm willing to do right now. When I set up a local shop and I'm making money locally, then I will diversify a little more and go the extra mile of selling online. But until I get the local base set up, selling online is not going to be a big thing for me. All right, so So you find your niche, you get into that, and you keep replenishing that. So I definitely believe that in the future I will be able to do the engine shop like I want, where I'm building and selling engines, rebuilding engines for people, and selling engine parts. And I think this is something that can be successful just because of the fact that I know how to do this now, and I got the drive for it. And as my wife told me the other day, when she's saying in conversations, she goes, everything that you said that you're gonna do, you do. So if you tell me you're gonna do something, I got confidence that it's gonna get done, and that's true. And that's also because I set limitations on myself that are realistic. I don't aim way too high. It's not saying don't aim high, because my end game desires are lofty, but I just know that just same with weight training, you set yourself limits that are reasonable. You 10 pounds at a time, 10 pounds at a time, 10 pounds at a time. That's the way to get where you want. So setting up my engine shop that I had for a while in Miami got me started, and that got me into. Okay, back up a little bit. The hobby got me started doing the engine shop. The engine shop got me started into doing the YouTube, and I think the YouTube thing will help me reestablish much quicker when I go back to do the engines in Miami. Now I have a foundation to rely on. I don't have to do what I did before, starting from scratch. Even if I didn't have the YouTube thing, I was already established. I go back there, I talk to people from Florida all the time on a regular. If I start posting and advertising on Facebook again, people are going to point me out. I'm going to start my business back without too much issue. So another thing I want to talk about is the whole partner thing, and this is rehashing that, but I want to talk about it again, because I'll go back to talk to my own experience with having a partner, and I did. I did call Blake my partner. Blake was my partner for all purposes and extension, as close to a partner as I will ever get. And the only person I was willing to say about, because I'm very jealous of my work. I do not like anybody dipping their finger or name into my shit, especially if it's something that I worked for. Don't talk about us, we, none of that shit, because this is all me. All right. And even with Blake, we headbutted a couple times because I was like, nah, there's no us and we here, and we share space. This is my work. And it did get that way because I was the only one really working out there. He was just using our spot as storage, which was fine with me. See, what happened was we got together and we agreed that we were going to work together in a partnership. This is the partnership as I put up front, and I was firm on this. I did not back down from this, even when tempted to cross over to the other side. That's no, and it's because that's in having that kind of boundary up front and having this kind of discipline will save you problems down the line. So we went into the agreement like this. I was like, look, I build engines, you do maintenance. I was like, you pull engines, you do engine swaps, I'll build engines. The way our partnership worked was we shared the rent of the spot, so we both had our own space in the bay. All right, so that worked fine. And then as far as the partnership extending beyond that, like splitting money, it's like, no, we don't split money. I do my specific work, you do your specific work. We bill it together as one ticket, but you get your set price for what you do, and I get my set price for what I do. If you do a job and you charge $200 for that job, I do a job and I do $500 for that job, then the ticket sold is $700, but you get your $2 and I get my $5. And it works that way. Or you do work and I don't get anything at all because I didn't chip in, then that's fine. And and this eventually what happened is that he was like, okay, so I'm doing this work, and then I didn't have any part in it. And he was like, here's some money. I'm like, well, what's that for? He's like, well, we're partners. I'm like, no, we're not partners. Keep your money, bro. I appreciate it, but no. I didn't do any work on it. I don't deserve that money. I don't want that money. That's your money. And what eventually this led to is that he had brought a car into the shop, and he'd done some work on it, got stuck, didn't want to deal with it anymore because he was busy doing other shit, and then he was asking me to jump in on it and do some work. I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. That's your mess. I want nothing to do with that. That's all you, buddy. And he's like, oh, I thought we're partners. I was like, well, we can be. We are partners, but just not partners in that kind of sense. So if you are going to go into a place with somebody that you need to buddy up with, if you want to buddy up on a location for rent because rent's expensive where you're at or whatnot, then that's completely fine. But just make sure you set your boundaries on what you're sharing, so that way you're not dipping into each other's profits when it comes time. Like there was plenty of times where I had months where I made no profit at all, so me paying for my rent at that shop was out of pocket instead of from the work I was doing there, and I was fine with that because it gave me a big comfortable space for the most time to be able to do what I wanted to do comfortably. So you just gotta make sure that if you're gonna do something, you can't rely on other people to finish your shit, because that's always gonna fuck you. The most reliable person you know is yourself. So if you're going in like I gotta do a head gasket on this car, you and your buddy agree I'm gonna take it off, and then you're gonna put it back on or something along those lines, Then what happens if you go in and do your part, step aside, let your buddy step in to do his side part, and excuse happens or whatnot, he comes up and then you have to finish everything. So that means now you got to take extra time to do extra work. And then it happens at the end of the day, he's still asking for his money or whatnot. And that's that's going to lead to beef. I don't care how solid your friendship is. If you throw money in the mix, it's always going to lead to a problem. So to stay professional, you keep yourself split, and you keep certain guidelines and stick by them 100%. Don't let that get in the way. And I'm not saying anything bad about Blake here. I love Blake to death. Blake is probably like one of the few people left that I know that I'm really cool with. Because why? Because we always kept the money where it was supposed to be. I've been in debt to Blake a bunch of times, and I never had a problem with getting my money back or whatnot. And we don't cross over. We don't step on each other's toe when it comes to personal life either. We support each other, have our buddy talks and whatnot, but I don't cross too far into his shit. You don't cross too far into mine. We keep respectable boundaries. Never have a problem with the guy. I've yet to this date. I mean, I've had my gripes and complaints. I'm sure he's had his gripes and complaints about me, but at the end of the day, we're still solid because we've never crossed any boundaries with each other. Now, there's 20 minutes into this talk, and this is going to go on a little bit longer because now I'm going to talk about the whole YouTube thing. I guess I'll probably put description tags that way I can see exactly where I'm changing over here. But people have asked me about the YouTube thing, like how do I get started, what do I do, all this shit. To tell you the truth, and I've mentioned this before, like the channel origin stuff, I decided I wanted to do one thing, it became something else. But yeah, well, see, now the thing is too, I've gotten around real close to 2,000 subscribers, so, and this is going to be my 199th video, so that's why I've said a bunch of times that I could stop doing YouTube and my channel will still grow, because I've got so much shit on here that it don't really matter if I don't get an upload up every week. So I can now, at this point in my YouTube career, I can bend the YouTube rules a little bit because I have so much already established. But just to start with YouTube, what you got to know what you want to do. You have to have an idea of what you want to do, a genre. So you want to do, talk about cars or whatnot. Then you got to decide whether you're going to talk about a certain brand or all brands. And then what about the car world exactly you want to talk about. I would say it's a safe bet to have at least 2 things you want to do with your channel. So that way if one's in a slump, you can go back to another. Matt Moran Motoring, which used to be Subaru WRX fan. I'm subbed to this channel. Don't watch this shit so much anymore. But I stay subbed to stay supportive of of the channel and whatnot. But he does 2 things. He has car reviews and he has car news. And his news is way more frequent nowadays. Maybe not so much before, but definitely nowadays for sure. When I see notifications, it's usually about new car talk. And it's relevant. So he can do that news on a weekly basis, talk about what's going on in the automotive world, and still do his reviews from time to time. Now, people may have gone to him mainly for reviews, but I think at this point his channel has enough reviews on it where if you're a new subscriber, you can definitely keep yourself busy for a while. And then that's what became of mine. I wanted to do after build reviews, but people are amazingly, they're fucking dicks when it comes to trying to track people down to fucking get footage. The footage I wanted to do, I wanted to build an engine, have a story, talk about it a little bit, watch the car run, get in the car, experience the drive, and then talk about it some more. But it was extremely difficult to do that. I was only able to do that with one fucking person, and that's the video. It's one of my first uploads, and nobody really watches it. I guess now's the opportune time to drop it in there. I'll leave it in the description. Just remember, it's horribly filmed. It's one of my first videos. So anyway, that didn't work out the way I planned it. So I did my first video upload was the Vitara build review, and that was because that it stunned me. I was so amazed on how well that engine came out and everything that I did that, and then it got views. And so I went from there. I was like, I wanted to do more of that. I wanted to talk more about engine builds and different combinations and shit. And at the time, I was also, because I was getting kind of popular on Facebook down there in Miami for what I was doing, even though I wasn't getting business popular at the time, I was getting question popular. Because people found out that I built engines, and they would talk to me and realize I answered. So I had a lot of people hit me up all the time. And I was answering the same questions over and 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 over. So then I decided I will address that with YouTube. Although I didn't think about exactly how I was going to do it right away. It was honestly, I think it was like another 6 months before I got to where I could do that properly. So then, fucking around with one of the engines I was building, I was just going to talk about it a little bit because I was bored, and it became a thing. And then engine building thing became a thing. And then the way I was building engines and talking about it, I was doing cuts because I've always filmed on a cell phone. I didn't have any way of holding it at the time. I didn't care enough about trying to figure out a way because I was still really camera shy, and I didn't want to show everybody exactly how I was doing things because I just didn't want to deal with haters and their comments and how I was wrong about everything I was doing or whatnot, even though I know I was building clean engines. So I kind of cut in between. There were like 10-minute videos, and I just talk about what I found and what I did on the engine, and that got some views and stuff, I think. But I think the reason why I didn't grow that big in the very beginning is mainly because I think quality was very, very poor. So and it wasn't very detailed, so I got people's interest, but I think people that were really looking for instructions weren't satisfied with what they were seeing, and they were moving on. I started to really take off in the channel when I started doing sit-down videos, discussions of different topics and stuff like that. And I don't remember which one was the first one. I think it was just people asking me questions on here that inspired me to talk about it. And then I realized that, this is of course the way I can talk about, all right, this is the way I answer people's questions all at once without ever having to type it out again. I can just link a video. We're good to go from there. So yeah, definitely have two things that you want to do, so that way when one is not kicking too much, then the other you can fall back on. So that would be my engine building videos. I do the stuff that I do in my workshop, and then there's the discussion topics, which I think is probably the bread and butter of this this channel. Although I think eventually it'll change. I mean, most people take like 10 years to get like truly enormous, and I think between now and the rest of the next decade, I will eventually get back to the city and I will start doing fuck tons more actual work. And then once the money starts coming in, I can do bigger and better jobs, and then of course that it just feeds itself. The monster feeds itself. But the important thing is having the base. So, and honestly, to tell you guys, my name went through several changes before I focused on VHP engines. So don't feel bad if you're trying to come up with a name and you can't figure out anything out. I think it's kind of arguable to what to make your name on. You could just use your actual name. But if you do use your actual name, then it's going to be a little bit harder for people. It might be a little harder for people to catch people's attention because the name, kind of gives a hint to what the channel is. But if you're not going to use your actual name, then yeah, it's probably decent to come up with a title that befits what it is you're doing. But if you can't come up with one organically, or you can't come up with one right away, I wouldn't worry about trying to force it. Don't push it, because that's what I did. I tried to push it too many times, and I settled on one that was stupid. And I knew it was stupid when I picked it, but I didn't give a shit at the time because I couldn't think of anything better to do. But thinking about it some more, I went back. I took some hints from other people, and eventually made up my own thing and fell on VHP engines. I've said it several times already, but I guess I'll mention it again. VHP engines is Vasquez's home-built engines, because primarily the focus of where I'm always going to do my work is going to be at home, or at least like some kind of little bullshit spot. So it's, I don't ever see me, or at least no time soon do I see myself in like a fancy building or whatnot. Mainly because of the fact that I really, really like, well, not so much here, but I really like my job, with the company I'm with, and I plan on retiring out of there, most likely. But I'm still going to chase after my parts shop dream, because I think that it's something I can definitely do. Maybe it'll not be something I can do to, to completely sustain myself and my family, because the money I can potentially make in Ryder is a fuck ton more. Like, so why would I walk away from easy money? But I still would like to do that. And if I can supplement myself, even like, imagine if I made 20 grand off my own shop, I'd be completely happy with that. I'd be completely happy with that. Yes, I would. As far as the YouTube thing goes, when you're first starting out, you got, analytics and shit. I'm not the biggest genius on YouTube analytics, mainly because a lot of the crazy shit that happened during the big crazy YouTube shits that happened haven't affected me because of the genre and the way I talk and all this stuff. Like the adpocalypse and shit you hear people talking about, I was too small of a channel for it to really hurt me, because it didn't really affect much of my viewer count or monetization or whatnot, because all that shit's low as is anyway. The only thing I can say that I noticed that made an effect is that YouTube monetization, when I started up, used to be from the get-go. Like, your very first video, you gain monetization from that. Now, because of the adpocalypse, you don't gain you're not allowed to gain a monetization until you get 10,000 views. 10,000 views is not a lot, but 10,000 views is a lot when you're very first starting. So even though it's, you know, said that I made like 50 cents in my first 10,000 views or whatnot, you know, I don't remember exactly how much it was, but you know, a very low monetization, you know, that's still fucking, and you know, that still makes a difference. 10,000 views is a long fucking uphill battle when you're first starting. It took me almost like 8 months or so before I broke out of 100 subscribers, and then once I broke 100 subs, I started to really pick up steam. But I still have not grown as exponentially as I thought. I was hoping I'd be a lot farther along at this point than I am now. But then after a while, YouTube was a big focus of mine for a while, and then I just kind of like, I don't give a shit anymore. Not saying that I'm not gonna make videos anymore, but just not like I'm not gonna kill myself to make content. You know, and I was for a while. For some of you guys that were with me back around 1,000 subscribers, but I was fucking churning the videos out. But at the same time, too, I had a lot more YouTube engagement. A lot of you guys were asking me shit that I hadn't covered at the time. But you know, the road to 200 videos has been a decent one, and I've covered a lot of shit, you know, that I can think of as far as just discussions. Of course, there will be more like this that will come sometimes whenever it comes to mind. But anyway, so what you want to keep, you want to have a decent name to be recognized if you can, instead of just using your own name. I mean, you can if you want to, but it's good to have a name that befits the channel. All right, then you need to know what you're going to talk about, and you have at least 2 topics that way you can fall back one to the other. That, and it keeps the channel a little bit dynamic. You don't want to always see the exact same thing. And then also you want to keep to a decent upload schedule. You want to upload at least once a week. You know, the more videos you have out there, the more chances your videos come up in somebody's suggested videos. And suggested videos is like the main draw for your channel. You keep getting videos pop up, the suggested, and then once the guys click on one of your videos, then more of your videos will pop up suggestions. So the more you have, the more they can get in there and watch. And people, generally speaking, take 2 or 3 videos, or let me say 3 to 5 videos they have to watch usually before what they really decide if they're going to hit the subscribe button or not. At least that is for me. I watch videos all the time on YouTube. I spend most of my time watching shit on YouTube over TV or movies. So there's guys that I watch regular shit from that I haven't subscribed from. But a lot of times, if I've watched 5 of your videos and you got me, you know, clicking on more of your shit, I'll subscribe. So you want to have more content up. If you can have more than 1 upload a week, that's great, especially in the beginning. If you can have 3 uploads a week, that will be fantastic. But you don't want to also force yourself to make videos that are going to be crap. And also realize that if you're going to be, you know, putting music and all this fucking shit together, the editing takes a long fucking time. Alright? That's a big reason why you don't see a lot of edited shit in my videos. No intro, no outro, none of that shit. If you are going to do an intro and outro, man, you know, you got to really try to do something decent. Because honestly, man, like 9 out of 10 times, I fucking hate channel intros and I skip past it right away. They're fucking annoying. There's only like fucking, I think Comics Explained, like his old intro that he did back in the day, like a year or 2 back, was fucking awesome. I love that intro. I wish he'd bring it back and stick with that. But I guess I can see why he didn't. And then the second channel I watch, the intro that I love is MMA World. I fucking love that one. But it's real quick, to the point. Sometimes I think if your intro is real short, it's better. Just let, you know, get a little ditty in their head and know that it's me or not. But anyway, I do kind of my own intro. My hey, welcome to VHP and just bullshit. If y'all fucking like that, kiss my ball sack. But so yeah, editing takes a long fucking time, you know. And the longer your video, the longer it takes to edit and upload. Alright, and YouTube upload times are fucking ridiculous sometimes. You can have fast-ass internet and it still takes you like hours to get a video uploaded. This one's going to be probably hours because it's well over 30 minutes, or going to be well over 30 minutes most likely. Another thing is video length. Your monetization also works with how long your video is. You have to be, I think you have to be at least 10 minutes before you can put more than 1 advertisement in it. Alright, there's that. And plus, I think YouTube, the way they share videos is you got to be at least 5 minutes long before they really start suggesting your shit. So if you're doing like little 1-minute video uploads, 2-minute video uploads, you know, that's kind of not going to really get circulated too much. I have a couple of those, but I try not to do it too often. I think maybe just a couple. Alright, also, and one thing I'll say too, for lots of people who don't have YouTube Red, which I think is a majority of us, advertisements are fucking aggravating, and you can choose the kind of advertisements you want to put. So what I try to do, I try not to oversaturate videos with advertisements, but I also know that like there's a lot of people who cram as much as they possibly can. You gotta remember that YouTube money comes from views and the duration of views. And a lot of times, if there's a video that's like 10 minutes long and you have repeat videos where their ads are coming up and blocking you in the middle of shit, like for me, I click away, dude. Like if I got one. If you got an advertisement at the beginning of your video, fine. Like one of those where you gotta wait the skips or you got to watch the fucking the shit, that's fine. But could you imagine you're watching like a mandatory 1 minute long advertisement for a fucking 4-minute video? That gets aggravating. Or if you're in the middle of a 10-minute video and like halfway through the video, like the advertisement pops up that you gotta wait and play through, that's a good way to lose people. And I know that I'm guilty of that myself, nowadays. But like I said, I try not to do it too often. And even with the longer videos, like ones that go 30 minutes and shit, I usually don't put more than 3 in. And so those are just some helpful tips to try and to keep the YouTube thing flowing. Also, another thing is audience engagement, man. Ask your audience questions, talk to them when they talk to you, encourage comments and all that shit. That's how you build relationships with people who are there. Make sure that they realize that you're invested in them as much as they are in you. And I'm grateful. It's been a while since I've said anything, and I think I am going to make a video for 2,000 subs. I can't remember the last time I did one like that. It's been a while. So I think that 2,000 subs is justifiable for me to fucking make a thank you video. And I do thank you guys. And I do enjoy talking to you guys for the most part. A lot of times if I don't answer right away, it's just because I'm busy and I can't. Also, just for you new subscribers or guys that are asking me questions, no, I used to answer questions like immediately right away, but nowadays I don't so much because usually it drags me into a very long conversation, and I can't do that long conversation shit all the time, especially with the way I'm working now. So there will be times where I will get questions and I will deliberately wait a day or two before I talk to anybody. Just that way I kind of cluster up a bunch of questions at one time and then go through and answer them late at night. And also another thing too is me sometimes being short with you guys is not like me saying fuck you, you're stupid or whatnot. It's just the fact that I can tell when some of you guys are being lazy. Like the other day I had a guy, like, hey, send me a guide video for this and this and that. I'm like, nope. I make it a point now on every one of my videos I upload recently that I put the VHP Engines guide how-to in there. I'm not giving you anything anymore. I mean, if it's a first-time question for you, I might fucking hit you with the video that you're asking for. But more often than not nowadays, I'm just hitting you with the guide. And if you're too fucking lazy to go through that, then I don't care if I have you as a sub anymore. And that's just because, man, that's just being really lazy. Why should I work hard for you to gain knowledge? I mean, I'm already putting in the work by doing the fucking videos. So you go out there and find it. You find it yourself. All right. So, yeah, I guess that pretty much kind of covers everything I want to talk about there. Yeah, if you just remember, like, the YouTube thing was, can seem like a fun thing. Honestly, it wasn't like a big thing for me. Like, oh, I want to do YouTube. I know, like, a lot of YouTubers that are big now had that story where, like, I just had to do something. I knew I wanted to do YouTube, and I was doing all this crazy shit. No, man, you do this. You do anything you do as a hobby. You do because you enjoy doing it. Don't try to force it because I want to be successful. Just. If it's something that you feel like there's something that people might want to share and watch, that's great. But like, you have to realize in the very beginning, which could last upwards to a year, is going to be rough for you. And like, if you're trying to do the YouTube thing, it's not going to be easy. You're going to struggle to stay subscribers and shit. Okay, so here I do have some stuff to add to it. Some bad practices. Going onto people's channels and trying to spread your shit is a bad thing. Your shit will come up as spam and most likely be removed by whoever's fucking the owner of that channel. Alright, so you go into another channel, hey, watch my shit. People hate that. Naturally, people will ignore you immediately. You can have fucking awesome content and people will ignore you as a spammer right away because nobody likes those guys. Alright? Going on other people's channels to try and start arguments, to try and gain attention, to have you go back to your shit is also generally a bad idea. Here's another thing too, something I've never done. Asking friends and family to subscribe to the channel or whatnot, because you want to try and fluff it. What usually happens here, and even YouTube says this, if you read their like how-to guides on how to build your shit, or if you watch other people talk about building their YouTube channel, if you ask a lot of people to do this to fluff your shit, then that means like after a while, these guys are going to be like, well, I'm subscribed to you, and they're going to unsubscribe. So you'll have that initial spike, boom, like you get fucking 20 people in your family, 30 people in your family, or people you know to just subscribe to your channel, and you got like 50 subs. And then a little after a couple weeks or a month or so go by, and then all of a sudden you'll see your shit drop by that same amount, because right around the same time everybody decides that they don't want to be subbed to you as a friend anymore, because like you're not really doing shit they want to hear about or whatnot or whatever like that. So have people that want to support you because they want to support you. Like don't push your shit on people, because you're gonna have that drop later on and it's gonna suck. I've never had a big drop. I've never had like a rush out of people leaving my channel, because the people that are here and they're subbed because they want to be. And I know that I lose subscribers because I rub people wrong sometimes, and then they decide they leave, or maybe they've subscribed to my channel and the last couple uploads they've seen hasn't been something along the lines they thought they wanted, so they just decide to unsub because they don't want to see the notifications or whatever. You know, there's all kinds of reasons. But don't push so hard to grow your channel. Yes, advertise when you can, I guess, on Facebook or whatnot, but the more you try to push the advertisement, the more people are going to be turned off by you. So you got to let your shit grow organically. I haven't done this in a long time, but I used to advertise on Facebook, because when I was selling my engines, I would attach the build video to go along with it. And that would give people buying the engine a chance to see the work done. And also, you know, give a little bit of notoriety to the channel. But aside from that, I don't advertise at all anymore, like ever, because I haven't really posted any engines for sale. So that's probably, it probably might be, anyway, like I said, organic growth. You gotta let people find you on their own, or people subscribe because they want to. If you're trying to push all the time, then it might not happen. So I guess the real test of whether you're gonna be capable of being a YouTuber or not is whether you can ride the storm, because the first part of building the channel is gonna be the hardest. Like, it is extremely hard to get to 100 subs, and you know, the only people I've ever seen that grow really big really fast like that are people who have like big channels as homies that can give them shoutouts. Like that dude in blue, I remember like a year or so back, he gave one of his homies a shout out, and because people are fans of him, they subscribed to his channel. So in like the first month of his existence, he was like 2,000 subscribers, and within 2 or 3 months, he was at 5,000 subscribers. And I think the majority of those people that were subbed to his channel weren't even watching; they were just going there, clicking subscribe because they were trying to support that dude in blue or whatnot. So you just gotta be patient. Like I guess that's a way to test whether you really want to do it or not. Make some fucking videos, post them up, and see if you can handle getting 2 or 3 views a video for months at a time. I mean, shit, even my fucking view count is still ridiculously low. I'm like, a big video for me is like 1,000 or 700 subs. 700 views in a week. If I get 700 views in a week, that's a hot fucking topic. That's why I was kind of surprised, you know, like that when I made the Booster Boys and shit, which is funny because I said the thumbnails, I'm not surprised. But that video got like 2,900 views within the time that I've uploaded it. I would say my average is probably around 300. So I'm averaging 300 at around 2,000 subscribers. Imagine what you're gonna get with like 2 or 3 subscribers. It's gonna be like 20 views every once in a while. 30 is gonna be a high point. So just know that like it's gonna be rough in the beginning. And I guess I'll close with this. If you're gonna do YouTube and you want to get a shout out by me, you gotta give me content first. And mainly it's because I'm trying to help you. Because if I try and do a shout out for you, and if my audience decides they want to go, you know, check your shout because they're trying to help, you know, support me or whatnot, then what you think is if I give you, like, you make 2 videos and I give you a shout out, then people are only going to have 2 videos to watch, and then however long it takes you to make more videos. So if you don't take the videos, if you don't make a bunch of videos right away, then the people who are subscribed to your channel are going to see 2 videos for like 2 weeks at a time, and they're gonna leave. So plus I'm going to view your quality. I mean, I'm not going to fucking give you a shout out just to give you a shout out. If you're not going to hold my attention, and like I've already said, I don't watch other people's shit because it's kind of boring. Not in a bad way, but just boring because it's not what I want to see. I will be subjective. I will look at your shit subjectively. Like, I'm not going to see whether it's entertaining for me purposely. I'm just going to look at it, see the quality, and see if I can judge it being entertaining for other people. So if you get like up to 10 videos, and you want to fucking get my input on it, I'll watch your videos. I'll let you know what I think, where you could go right, where, you know, where you're going wrong, what you can do to improve. shit like that. And then if I see that it's good enough to want to talk about, then I'll talk about it. But don't feel bad if it's not something I want to share. I mean, I'll give you the pointers of what you can do to change, and you can always talk to me as many times as you want. And as long as you're still doing it and still doing the growth and all that shit, then I can go back and talk about it again if you ever get to that point where I think you're doing good. But me trying to send subscribers your way, if you're not doing anything good, then there's nothing. I don't have a big enough audience base to make people do that shit, just for the sake of doing it. You gotta have something decent. Like, so if I point out something good and then you go and watch it and you're like, damn, this shit's good, then that subscriber you got is gonna stay. But if I'm like, hey, I like this guy, go subscribe to his channel just because I like him, and they go and your shit is whack, they might subscribe because I asked, but they're not gonna stick around long. So that'll be my contribution to try and help you guys. I know I've said this before with like trying to give you guys shout out, try to give you guys features, but it's just every time I try and do that, I get like sloppy feedback. I don't get what I need to make a proper shout out. I need fucking video footage, to be honest. I need video footage or extensive amount of pictures, and it also, no fucking disrespect, but it can't be something that's really basic. It can't be just like I did my first single cam swap, and I give you a shout out feature for that. I guess what I would be really interested in recently is or more frequently here, is that a lot of people have mentioned or have hit me up. I've had a lot of subscribers come and tell me, hey, I built my first engine and this is at your instructions or whatnot. Those guys are cool. I think because I don't have a lot of content there, if I get like a handful of you guys to come at me at the same time and organize all the information, I could do like a multi shout out. Maybe I'll talk about this more in the 2000 live stream or whatnot. I would like to do more features for you guys, but we gotta try and figure out a better way to do it, because right now the information I get are people throwing up links in the comments or whatnot. It's kind of hard for me to track. Maybe my mind's a little smaller than I think it is. All right, so we're after 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I gotta start getting ready to go to work. It's 46 minutes into the video. We're going on an hour. This is way longer than I thought it was gonna be. Let's see how many views this gets. Alright guys, if you did manage to watch the whole video, fucking thanks, man. All the social media links will be in the description below, and thanks for watching. Peace.